Have you ever had a moment where, reality just felt, I don't know, a little scripted?
Oh, absolutely, like a glitch.
Right. You're just going about your day, and suddenly you hear the exact same, like, hyper-specific phrase from three completely different people. Or maybe you're walking your usual route to work, and out of nowhere, you feel this sudden, inexplicable urge to just change your routine.
Almost like an invisible line of code is trying to, course correct you back onto a designated path.
Exactly. It's this creeping sensation of structural déjà vu, and that exact feeling is the beating heart of Vanessa Klinger's literary universe. So, welcome to the deep dive, everyone.
We have a really incredible stack of sources today.
We do. We're looking at Klinger's nonfiction philosophy guide, her master theme index, and we're bringing in excerpts from two of her most acclaimed simulation theory novels, which are Let Us Make Man and The Human Experience.
It's a lot to unpack, but it's so worth it.
It really is. And our mission today is to decode Klinger's core philosophies. She uses this whole framework of simulated realities, not as a tech-heavy playground, but really as a lens to examine human consciousness, the emotional exhaustion of modern life, and the roles we play every single day.
Yeah, and Klinger is just brilliant at using sci-fi tropes as a sort of Trojan horse for modern psychology.
I mean, she totally is.
In her work, a simulation isn't some sleek marvel with glowing blue grids and, complex mathematics. She frames it as an energetic, emotional prison. We see this right away in Let Us Make Man.
Right, with the whole level 1 concept.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The lore of the book establishes that Earth was originally designed as level 1. And it wasn't a trap at all. It was just a temporary, perfectly safe interface for entities she calls seeded souls.
I actually found the concept of level 1 almost heartbreaking when I was reading it.
Oh, totally. Why is that?
Because these seeded souls were basically just tourists. They were meant to drop into a physical form just to experience sensory phenomena that simply don't exist in pure consciousness.
Like the sudden chill of wind on their skin or...
Yeah, or the sharp taste of citrus, or even just the physical vibration of laughter. The body was really just an organic spacesuit for them to wear.
Right, an organic spacesuit.
Yeah.
But, any software engineer will tell you about the absolute dangers of scope creep. The system, it didn't stay as level 1.
Of course not.
It expanded completely without authorization. It just kept layering new complexities, new rules, new survival mechanisms and hierarchies. It bloated into this massive 7-level deep simulation.
7 levels. Wow.
Yeah. And with every new rendered level, the code became denser. The survival parameters became way more punishing.
To the point where the souls literally forget they are avatars. I mean, it makes me think of an actor who goes so deep into a method acting role, like living and breathing and suffering as their character for years, that they completely lose access to their original identity.
That is such a good analogy.
They just start believing the script is their actual life and the stage is the entire universe.
And that is the true tragedy of Level 7 code. The inhabitants fully believe the organic spacesuit is their true, complete self, which brings us to Eve, the protagonist of Let Us Make Man.
Right, Eve, she's just so relatable right from the start.
She is. She's an ordinary corporate worker, basically just operating under fluorescent lights, living this totally numb, highly repetitive existence. But the system's external recovery mechanism, this entity called the Cradle, starts trying to wake her up before the corruption fully consumes her essence.
And they do this by sending her these subtle release codes.
Right.
Exactly.
Release codes.
These inciting incidents in the book are incredibly unnerving because they are so quiet. Like, Eve is just standing at a crosswalk. A woman in a blue coat drops an orange. Eve picks it up, hands it back, and the orange is impossibly warm.
It's such a weird, visceral detail.
It is. And when their hands brush, Eve feels this deep internal static shock of recognition. It's basically a render error in the simulation, just a brief moment where base reality peeks through.
And then it happens again at her office.
Yes, she's in the break room. The financial news on the TV just cuts out, the screen goes black, and it displays a single line of text. Remember before the 8th.
What's fascinating here is that Klinger doesn't rely on aliens or monsters for suspense at all. The creeping horror of Let Us Make Man is really Eve's sudden hyper-awareness of behavioral loops.
Yeah, the loops are terrifying.
When she gets that jolt of recognition, she starts noticing that the people around her are functioning like badly programmed non-player characters.
I mean, she literally hears a coworker say, people just want to feel like they matter. And then, like, an hour later, a total stranger on the street uses the exact same phrase with the exact same unnatural cadence.
That's so unsettling.
And then later that night, a news anchor says it. 3 times in one day. She even catches a wellness ad telling people to disconnect to reconnect, and then overhears a podcast repeating that exact corporate slogan as if it's profound wisdom.
Klinger is using these narrative glitches to explore her master themes of awareness and pattern recognition. Because the true nightmare for Eve isn't just the discovery that the world is a simulation.
It's how everyone else is acting.
Exactly. It's the realization of how easily everyone else accepts the scripted, repetitive nature of their lives. They are completely seamlessly synchronized to the machine. They just don't question the loops at all.
You know, it feels uncomfortably close to the modern experience of scrolling through a social media feed.
Oh, 100%.
You just realize everyone is using the exact same trending audio to, like, express their individuality, or they're expressing their political outrage using the exact same formatted, copy-pasted talking points.
It's all just templates.
It is. It forces you to stop and wonder if human culture has become fundamentally recursive. Are we actually generating original thoughts, or are we just echoing scripts we absorbed an hour ago and claiming ownership of them?
That is precisely the nerve Klinger is pressing. But she doesn't stop at the observation. She delves into the mechanics of why. Why does the simulation want everyone trapped in these predictable, repetitive scripts?
And it's not just about control, is it?
No, it's not simply a matter of authoritarian control. It's actually a matter of biological and energetic sustenance.
The system is hungry. Okay, let's unpack this, because that introduces the core operational rule of Eve's world, which honestly gave me chills. The rule is, a reaction was consent the system could use.
Let's really break down the mechanics that the corrupted architecture of level 7 doesn't survive on electricity or processing power. It survives by harvesting emotional output.
Like what kind of output?
Fear, outrage, tribalism, status anxiety, and just endless, frantic consumption. The system deliberately layers continuous overlapping crises and stimuli to keep the human avatar highly reactive and the mind completely exhausted.
Because an exhausted mind doesn't have the bandwidth to question its reality. If you are constantly reacting to a manufactured workplace emergency and then a terrifying news alert and then a toxic text message, I mean, you don't have the energy to stop and examine the walls of the maze. You are way too busy running it.
Right. Stillness and observation are basically catastrophic for the system's synchronization. Stillness generates no data.
Wow, stillness generates no data. That's powerful.
If you are perfectly still and non-reactive, the system's algorithm cannot predict your next move, and it cannot feed you the appropriate stimulus. We actually see this play out mechanically with Eve's boss, Helen.
Oh, Helen, she is the ultimate middle management avatar.
He really is.
She operates in this permanent state of manufactured urgency. But when Eve finally stops playing the game, like when she stops emotionally reacting to Helen's engineered stress, Helen physically begins to slip out of sync.
Yeah, her code basically glitches.
Her words stutter, her performance just fractures because the expected emotional transaction, that reaction she desperately needed to sustain her own programming, it just didn't happen.
And the system also has aggressive immune responses, which we see through Eve's coworker, Daniel. Daniel is a fascinating character because he actually begins to notice the behavioral loops, just like Eve.
He sees the strings, too.
He does. He points out that people are acting like scripted versions of themselves. But the moment his awareness crosses a certain threshold, the system's correction protocols target him.
But they don't send, like, Matrix agents after him.
No, he doesn't get attacked by an agent in a black suit. Instead, he suddenly feels this overwhelming, irrational urge to isolate himself. He feels depressed, stays home, stops communicating with Eve entirely.
The system essentially quarantines the anomaly to stop the awareness from spreading. That is terrifyingly subtle.
It's psychological warfare, really.
Well, I want to push back on something here, looking at the real-world application of this. If the system feeds on our emotional outrage and our stress, aren't we actively volunteering to power our own prison?
That's a very fair question.
Right, because every time we willingly jump into a toxic online debate or let a 24-hour news cycle whip us into a frenzy, aren't we just handing over our consent? It feels like we aren't just trapped by the architecture, we are actively choosing to be the batteries.
That is a very compelling argument. But Klinger introduces a critical piece of nuance here that kind of challenges the idea of total complicity. You are the battery, yes, but the system is designed to bypass your logic and hack your biology.
Okay, so it's rigged.
Completely rigged. Later in the novel, Eve receives a transmission from an older man who actually managed to evade the correction protocols. He tells her, the architecture cannot create consciousness, it can only redirect it.
Meaning the system isn't generating the energy, it's just building canals to divert our natural rivers into its own turbines.
Precisely. The simulation cannot manufacture a soul, and it cannot forcibly control one. It relies entirely on misdirection. It tricks you into attaching your fundamental identity to endless emotional reactions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if the system can convince you that your anger is who you are, it owns you. But, and this is really Klinger's deepest philosophical stance, true consciousness remains untouchable. If you observe the outrage without attaching your identity to it, the system immediately loses its grip.
So, Let Us Make Man gives us this claustrophobic view from inside the maze, right? From the perspective of the trapped avatar. But Klinger's other novel, The Human Experience, completely flips the camera. It zooms out to show us the control room.
It's such a brilliant shift in perspective.
We actually get to see the creators of a simulation.
Yes, this novel introduces the Human League. They're an advanced assembly of entities who have created a simulation program to test a specific hypothesis. Can the true essence of human resilience be replicated in a purely digital entity?
And the dynamic here is built around two rival programmers who are overseeing the project. You have Eleanor, who is the idealist.
Right, the optimist of the group.
She believes that resilience is the defining characteristic of humanity and that profound meaning can emerge from struggle. And opposing her is Malcolm Cynic.
A little on the nose with the name, but we'll let it slide.
Yeah, a bit literal, but it works. He is the ultimate skeptic. He believes the human design is inherently fragile, flawed, and basically destined to collapse under pressure.
And the battleground for their ideological war is the subject of the simulation, a digital entity named Vanessa. And just to clarify for everyone, this is a character named Vanessa, representing humanity. She's distinct from the author Vanessa Klinger, though the meta-narrative is certainly intentional.
Right, of course. Well, Malcolm operates like a malicious player in a god game. It's honestly like playing The Sims,
Oh, that's the perfect comparison.
where Eleanor is trying to build a beautiful, fulfilling life for her character, making sure she has a nice house and a good job, but Malcolm keeps sneaking in to, like, delete the pool ladder while the sim is swimming.
Yes, or setting the kitchen on fire just to watch them panic.
Exactly. Just to prove that the Sims are miserable, panic-stricken creatures, Malcolm secretly inserts what the book calls cruel code into Vanessa's life.
And this cruel code is Klinger's exploration of systemic trauma. Malcolm doesn't just, drop a piano on Vanessa. He designs psychological warfare.
He makes it personal.
Deeply personal. He gives her a profoundly bitter, emotionally withholding family dynamic, specifically her mother, Angela, living in Maplewood. He creates logistical nightmares like when she tries to move to Florida. Financial ruin, lost assignments, deeply isolating moments.
It is a systematic, grinding attempt to break her spirit.
Exactly. Malcolm's thesis is that if he can crush Vanessa with enough arbitrary cruelty, he definitively proves that humanity is fundamentally weak.
But Eleanor refuses to let Malcolm's nihilism win. She counteracts his cruel code by secretly inserting her own subtle programming.
Not grand miracles, right? Just little nudges.
Right, tiny nudges of hope. A kind teacher who notices Vanessa's potential, an unexpected job opportunity right when she's about to give up. And eventually, Eleanor breaks the ultimate rule of the simulation. She inserts herself into the code.
That was such a twist.
First, she shows up as a friendly grad student named Ellie, and later as a psychologist named Dr. Eleanor Wright, solely to guide Vanessa and remind her she isn't navigating the darkness alone.
This narrative structure brings us directly to the convergence of Klinger's master themes, identity and transformation. We have these two parallel struggles going on.
Right.
Eve is dodging correction protocols in a 7-level deep energetic prison, while Vanessa is surviving the systemic trauma of a rogue programmer's cruel code. The core question Klinger asks is, how do both of these characters ultimately achieve liberation?
So what does this all mean? The answer in both universes comes down to dismantling identity. In Let Us Make Man, Eve receives this chilling text message that serves as a massive wake-up call. It reads, "Identity is the most successful interface ever created. People will defend their prisons if their personality depends on them."
That might be the single most vital concept in Klinger's entire body of work. Let's really pause on that. Consider how deeply we attach ourselves to our roles.
Oh, constantly. Our traumas, our political affiliations.
Or our career titles. If you believe your identity is entirely constructed by the pain you've suffered, you will subconsciously protect the conditions that cause you pain, because losing the pain means losing yourself.
You defend the prison because the prison gives you a name.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, over in the human experience, Vanessa starts experiencing her own awakening. She notices synchronicities. She receives these cryptic emails asking, what if everything you know is a lie?
And as she investigates the architecture of her own life, she realizes something really profound about Malcolm's cruel code. Her resilience in the face of his sabotage isn't just a byproduct of her programming.
It's hers.
Right. It is her own authentic emergent power. The trauma didn't build her. Her transcendence of the trauma did.
And that realization completely strips Malcolm of his power. It leads to the novel's triumphant climax. Vanessa secures her freedom, winning the lottery, moving to Tuscany, falling in love with Alexios. She finds peace far away from the environment Malcolm designed to break her.
But the crucial philosophical moment happens at the very end. Eleanor appears to Vanessa as a shimmering, unrendered hologram just to say goodbye. And Eleanor reveals the ultimate twist.
Yes.
She and Vanessa are actually the exact same essence, operating across different dimensions.
I want to make sure I grasp the mechanics of that because it's a bit mind-bending. How can the programmer and the subject be the same person?
Think of it like a highly advanced virtual reality game. Eleanor is the actual person sitting in the real world wearing the headset. Vanessa is the digital avatar inside the game.
Oh, I see.
Eleanor inserted herself into the simulation as a guide because she was fundamentally trying to help her own avatar wake up. Once Vanessa realizes she isn't just the character on the screen, that she is deeply connected to the player holding the controller, she doesn't need external guidance anymore.
So Eleanor dissolves.
Yes,
Yay.
Eleanor dissolves, leaving Vanessa to experience her reality with full, conscious agency.
If we pull all of these threads together, what does this actually mean for us? If our identities, like our daily anxieties, our corporate jobs, the polished versions of ourselves we project online, if they're all just interfaces or roles we are performing for a system that harvests our reactions, who is the actual observer underneath?
It's the ultimate question.
When you strip away the interface, what is left?
If we connect this to the bigger picture and look at Klinger's awareness with Vanessa Philosophy Guide, she provides an incredibly grounding answer to that. The body, the ego, the daily frustrations of human life, they are not inherently evil.
They're not traps.
No, they are not traps. They were simply interfaces. The goal of Klinger's work isn't to induce paranoia. It isn't to make you want to escape reality or view everything as a malicious matrix. The ultimate goal is to teach you how to become an active, non-reactive observer of your own life.
Because the mechanism of liberation is observation. Observation interrupts synchronization. Whether you are Eve trying to starve the corrupted architecture of Level 7 or Vanessa neutralizing Malcolm's cruel code, the strategy is identical.
Right. When you observe your fear, your anger, or your anxiety without letting it become your entire identity, the system loses its grip.
It's about starving the engine. The system relies entirely on your blind, automated participation.
Exactly. When you pull your core identity out of that endless reaction loop, you cut off the power supply.
And bringing this right back to you, listening to this deep dive, you might not be trapped in a literal sci-fi server farm. There might not be a rogue programmer named Malcolm throwing malicious code at your Tuesday morning.
Right, probably no Malcolm.
But the modern world you navigate every single day is absolutely, undeniably an architecture designed to harvest your attention and your emotional reactions.
It is a completely algorithmic architecture. The social feeds, the endless news cycles, the targeted advertisements, they are entirely dependent on your consent.
And they collect that consent in the form of your immediate, unthinking reaction.
Yes, they need you to stay exhausted, and they need you to stay loud.
So, as we wrap up, we want to leave you with a practical exercise to take into your day. Tomorrow, or maybe even an hour from now, you are going to feel a sudden sharp spike of anxiety, or a flash of intense tribal outrage over something you saw online. Or maybe just that familiar, heavy pressure to perform a highly curated version of yourself for an audience that isn't really paying attention.
We all feel it.
When that happens, don't fight the emotion. Don't panic. Just pause for 1 single second. And ask yourself, is this emotion truly mine, or is this just the system asking for my consent?
That's the real test.
Pay close attention to that brief moment of stillness. Because, as Vanessa Klinger writes, the system can imitate almost everything in the human experience. It can imitate joy, it can manufacture outrage, and it can simulate urgency. But it cannot imitate stillness.
Stillness generates no data. It is the one glitch the system cannot fix.
The next time you feel the overwhelming urge to follow the script everyone else is reading, just stay quiet. Let the loop run without you. You might be surprised to find out who is actually observing from the other side of the screen.